Sveiki visi. Iš tikrųjų prisipažinsiu, kad šiek tiek jaudinuosi, nes mes pradedame visiškai naują, visiškai neįprastą formatą, podcastą, pokalbis su ministre. Ir mes esame Ekonomikos ir inovacijų ministerijoje, mano kabinete, su pirmuoju podcastu, pirmąją tinklalaidę, pirmąją jo seriją. Ir šiandien šitoje tinklalaidėje aš turiu 3 svečius. Ir galbūt pradėsiu nuo pristatymo šitų žmonių. Karolis Žemaitis, gal kai kam, kas žiūri šitą podcastą ir yra gerai pažįstamas žmogus, skautas, na, bet čia sėdi dėl to, jog taip pat yra ir mūsų Ekonomikos inovacijų ministerijos viceministras. Aš kalbu lietuviškai, bet dabar man reikia persijungti į anglų kalbą, nes kiti 2 svečiai yra užsieniečiai, and I'm switching now to English. The other 2 gentlemen that sit here on the couch in my office are from Plug and Play, the accelerator, international accelerator originated from the USA, and they are launching a program here in Lithuania. So we have Uraniku and Paula. Well, I'm very much personally excited that you are here and that we are, doing this pretty important and significant change when it comes to our startup ecosystem, growing it and hopefully, scaling it globally, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to talk alone because, obviously I'm the one that is used to answering the questions rather than asking them. So this role is pretty uncomfortable for me, I must admit. But perhaps let's kick off with you, Karolis. Remember, exactly 1 year ago, we have decided that let's look for an international accelerator. It's been quite a journey. For me, I think it was quite fast. I know what are your impressions?
Well, thank you very much. Well, you're always expecting things to get fast, and when especially when we're speaking with startup ecosystem, they are the ones who are always expecting to get things fast. And for them, if there is a startup or listening, 1 year is a hell of a time, for any sort of a startup. For public sector, that's a very short time, given all the procedures and everything. So I would say I had also the startup mindset in my mind. I thought, okay, can we make it faster? Can we cut time? Can we make it not in 6 months, but in 4 months? On the other hand, this is a very complex procedure that we went through because we're speaking about state participation in startup ecosystem. And what I think is important to emphasize is this is the first time we ever did something like that. Because in general, Lithuania has a lot of different acceleration programs already. And we have to emphasize that Lithuanian state also allocated a lot of money into startup ecosystem already,
Yeah, like 63 million.
Exactly.
Throughout years, so this is pretty significant.
But we have never ever entered proactively into international arena, trying
up until now
to attract international player into Lithuania. So I think it was relatively complex process. It had its ups and downs. Nevertheless, I'm very happy and excited that we finally managed to have the contract, to have you guys here. I think this is a big step forward for Lithuanian ecosystem, of course, and all of these little aspects and the managerial procedures will be, for our memoir books maybe sometime in the future. But right now we can really emphasize that Lithuania made a magnificent step forward in our international presence.
So Uraniku, I'm turning to you. You're here for a few days. You are the head of CEE region of Plug and Play. So what are your impressions of Lithuania generally, Vilnius, and also of course our ecosystem?
Thank you for the invitation, and as I said, it's a great honor to be your first guest on your podcast. But most importantly, I want to congratulate you as a government, but also the ecosystem on having us as a Plug and Play here. I've known people from Lithuania. I know that they're very hardworking people, and the ecosystem is one of the strongest ones, not only in the region, but also beyond, and is showing great signs of progress. Obviously, throughout these days, we will have more chances of meeting the Unicorn Association, more startups, and we will get into more depth in terms of understanding better the ecosystem. But I mean, the figures speak for themselves. The city is vibrant, the energy is there, there is a great momentum on building upon what already has been achieved. You mentioned the investments that you've made as a government throughout the years. It's time for the scale up and the internationalization of that part. So great impressions, and we're very happy to be here.
We are, of course, as I said in the very beginning, we are very excited, and perhaps you could tell more about Plug and Play generally, what it represents, what opportunities it brings, but also perhaps of the global presence first of all, because now Vilnius and Lithuania is becoming a member of Plug and Play family. So let's talk a little bit about that family. Who are we joining here?
On his press release and remarks, our founder and CEO said that we want to welcome Lithuania and Vilnius to the Plug and Play family. We are active in 50 cities or locations, I would say, and this is a very significant step in terms of inclusion, but also having that global presence more significant. The initial operations obviously started in Silicon Valley, where our HQ is there, very quickly expanding into EMEA and Asia, where Japan office is very active. But we're part of this EMEA office where the activities are expanding quite fast and quickly, I would say. Partially because...
Can I stop you
Yes,
for a little bit? When using these abbreviations, I mean, we are like nodding, but people who will be watching, you need to translate it.
Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So basically, this region is growing quite fast, and there is that I would say risk appetite and sense, and which startups will be imperative for the overall growth of any economy, as well as the well-being of the citizens. Having in mind that the technologies which are being produced through startups are really changing lives for the good. And when we have in mind now also the developments of the sustainability and other areas of focus where technology is playing an important but also crucial role in terms of creating sound and solid solutions, I think it becomes inevitable to invest in startups. And seeing this global trend of investments, obviously the interest in having international accelerators who could not only educate early stage startups and bring them, let's say, to become active startups and create jobs, but also scale to international scene is becoming super interesting. And that's why we're seeing an active role of not only governments, but also of strong corporates in investing into their innovation and open innovation services in which they try to partner with startups, investors, governments, and other stakeholders in creating a functional ecosystem. This is what has been going on. The trends are super positive. Plug and Play remains one of the most active investors in the world in terms of the accelerator. We have around 2,000 startups accelerated a year, over 2,000, with around close to 300 investments that we do a year across the region.
I think everybody is interested. So how many unicorns you have created? Do you have a number?
Absolutely. This was leading to that. Currently, we're over 30 unicorns. So if we put that into perspective, it shows that Plug and Play as a company, it exceeds many regions in terms of unicorns and countries, obviously. Smaller, and the number of unicorns will grow because I would say the progress that our portfolio startups are showing, despite of some global, I would say, shifts where there was a lack of investment, we had some crisis, obviously, it's still very positive. Some of the notable unicorns that have come out of Plug and Play portfolio programs would be PayPal, Dropbox, Danger, and many others. Obviously, they're on our website. But also we've partnered with many other startups and VCs and corporates which have really made Plug and Play the ultimate end-to-end innovation platform, much more than the accelerator program for which we were known for many years. Now I think we would like to be seen as an end-to-end innovation platform in which we bring different actors into this platform to collaborate, to co-create, in order to create that synergy, which I think it's very important for any ecosystem to succeed.
Well, thank you very much, Paolo. Let's bring you in to the discussion. Yourself, you're Italian, but you're based in Spain,
Yep.
in the headquarters of the Europe, Middle East, Asia office there in Valencia. What are your impressions here? Because, well, obviously, when you're located in Spain, you know, you are very familiar with the local ecosystem there, and you are familiar basically with many ecosystems, right, across the region. What's your take on how do we, you know, how do you see Lithuania when if you put it in a perspective across the region you're working with?
Sure. So on my end, I think that, as Uraniku was also mentioning before, I think we have a great opportunity here in Lithuania, since there is talent, but there is also the will from the government side to support the ecosystem. And this is something that is not always obvious. So what we notice is that in order to create a vibrant ecosystem, we need the commitment from different actors. So from the government, as well as obviously the startups. And on the medium long run, we also need especially corporations also, which is something that will become key on the long run, because at the end of the day, it is obviously important to invest in startups. And this is, if we came here, is because we see a great opportunity. But at the same time, startups are doing business, are selling their solutions to and working with corporations. So on the medium long run, it will be key and very important to involve corporations also in the ecosystem. So I see a great opportunity, and I mean, it's just, we can't wait to start.
Yeah, and perhaps let's talk a little bit about the very start. We can come back to the discussion, and let's make it as more as a conversation. Okay, I don't want to ask all the questions. As I said, I'm not very used to it anyway. But so when it comes to the timeline, right? So you are opening the call for startups in a couple of weeks, right? And then at the same time, you are looking for some premises, hiring people. Could you tell us more about it? So about the operations that are now taking place here in Vilnius, you know, in order to launch the program.
It's your time to pitch for the employment, you know, because you are
exactly.
openly looking for people right now. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Though the good news is that as of today, Lithuania has a +1 international business, because we just registered our office in Lithuania. And obviously, as you mentioned, we are actively looking. We have currently, as an initial, 3 openings, which we have posted on LinkedIn, and people can apply for these 3 positions. At the same time, we're actively talking to our partners about some locations and where the activities would be suitable. And all of this, I would say, is the technical part, but the real work has already started in terms of doing the outreach, meeting stakeholders, meeting corporates, meeting the Unicorn Association later on, startups community. And I think this is the most important part in terms of creating and just creating a functional, I would say, not ecosystem, but a cooperation with relevant stakeholders. In these small communities, when we go in, it's not a lot of people see these international. There are some accelerator activities, as you mentioned, in the country, and a lot of people say, "Okay, why do we need them?" You know.
Yeah, actually, I must admit that people keep asking me, especially local professionals that are eager to work within the venture capital programs. You know, your competitors. You know. But that's
from our perspective, absolutely. This is not a one-man show or one-woman show, but basically it's an idea of how do we come in to bring an added value to what is already showing very good signs. Our goal is to work with everyone who has been doing an amazing work to see how we can add to this activities which are taking place. So it's not a competitive process. I mean, for good startups, there is not enough money ever. So joining forces with VCs, joining forces with corporates, joining forces with other accelerators who have, let's say, brought startups to a certain level but need that internationalization component, which is super important. Potentially sending them through our global overseas learning program, which is a gold program, something we can think jointly with other partners. It would be super important. And this is the approach of inclusiveness as a cooperation, which I would like to send as a message, would be super important. So we're coming in not to take anything from anybody, but really to add some more to what is, not just from the investment perspective. Obviously the investment part, which we have committed, will be important, but really in offering, self-offering our community of startups already, unicorns, but not only, our community of VCs and our community of corporates, which is 500 corporates and plus. These corporates are actively looking for startups, and giving Lithuanian startups access to these global corporates will be super important, because for both ends, basically.
One of the reasons, we were proactively looking for an international name to come in was that, well, yes, our ecosystem is growing rapidly. It's very vibrant. Well, we have prominent unicorns and tech companies, but we still, I believe personally, we still lack the international element here. Because, well, normally when we talk to investors or international companies, people are, telling that, okay, or asking questions, okay, so what about geopolitics here, you know? And we are telling that, okay, everything is fine and so on. But then not that many realize that it's not only, geopolitics, the element of geopolitics when it comes to competitiveness of our region. We also live in a very competitive neighborhood because we have Poland, 40 million people market, right? Then we have Estonia with brilliant tech community and startup ecosystem. We have Nordic countries here. So then as the government, as the team, of this ministry, this department, well, we believe that, okay, we have to make, these extra steps in order to attract international name like yours, so that we have local programs, but we need, go global. And the thing is that for 3 million population living in such a competitive neighborhood, it is essential, because all of these products that our startups are creating here are global. It's impossible, to make anything local. It's global solutions they are creating here, and then attracting new startups from other countries. Well, I don't know, Finland, Poland, right? From the region, it's pretty important for us as well to to grow our domestic local ecosystem. Carolis, you wanted to add something?
I would add up. I can reveal a little bit of a secret. When we came into office, that was 3 years ago. We had a lot of meetings with different stakeholders from different ecosystems, including the startup ecosystem. And one of the questions that we asked, so what do you want from us? We are the government. How can we help? Because in some ecosystems, the answer is just don't do nothing. Just let us do what we do. Just don't interfere of what we are doing. When it comes to the startup ecosystem feedback, that was part of the answer. Just let us do our business. That's one. Another aspect that was emphasized a lot is the international recognizability of the ecosystem, because Lithuania is a hidden gem in many cases, which in some occasions is a good thing, on some occasions it's not. And what we accelerated ourselves is the Lithuanian visibility globally, because this is something we have some countries around in the region who are better in marketing rather than creating the actual content. We have the opposite problem. we have a lot of content, a lot of companies, but the visibility is not as big as we would like it to have.
Yeah.
And that's the result of the very strong national ecosystem, because all of our unicorns, all of our major startups were born here by the local entrepreneurs, local initiative, which is fantastic. On the other hand, the lacking element is the more interconnectability with international ecosystems. And I'm not saying that it's not existing, it is existing, but not to the degree we would like it to have. Because in many cases, we would like that Lithuania would be a brand for high tech, as it is de facto on the ground. But if you go to US, if you would go to other ecosystems, it might not be yet the case that Lithuania would pop into the mind as the number one destination. And what this international accelerator, I think, is changing this paradigm of Lithuania being not only the hub for local startup development, but a hub for international startups to come. Because if you look at other ecosystems, from Tel Aviv to Berlin to Silicon Valley, this is the place for people to be from all around the world. It's not that when we're speaking about Silicon Valley, we're speaking only about the American companies. No, it's not the case. Everyone wants to be there. And when it comes to the Lithuanian ecosystem, I think we have to be less humble about ourselves, but to be present as a hub that is attractive to everyone around in the region. Because sometimes we like, this is, I think, a Lithuanian character, to be a little bit silent. We have to be hardworking.
We're modest.
We have to be very, very modest. Our proverbs are like, you have to measure 9 times and then you cut. You have to be very silent. It's better to be silent and that let your work speak for you and so on, which is good. But I think we have to accelerate a little bit, the communication about how amazing the ecosystem is. And I think your entry here is a good example. And I think you are in a very good momentum right now, because what we are doing when we are traveling a lot with Aušrinė around the world, we're always telling everyone Lithuania is a hidden gem, and the ones who are taking it now will benefit much more than in 5 years, because in 5 years, in 10 years, Lithuania will be again one of the key hubs, around Europe, hopefully, and I think that we're going there. But now this is the time when you're finding someone who others are not seeing, and that is why I think Lithuania is in a very good position, and why you are in a very good position, because you're still getting this premium, of being the first, of being big ones, of getting the attention. So that's why I think it's a win-win situation for both Lithuania, for going international, as well as for you taking this, this premium of being the first ones in here, setting up a hub for the whole region.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And this is the reason why we're here, because we share this same vision, I would say, and feel about the opportunity. We share the same vision about the potential that we could achieve together. And obviously, this is the commitment which we also bring on the table. And it's super important to keep pushing and advancing to these new heights, I would say. But we all mentioned something very important. Oftentimes, these small countries in the region, while they focus very much on the internal processes and so on, they forget about the interconnectivity and the regional cooperation in terms of development. And at this moment, with the global developments, I see that also the interdependence, which is critical. It's impossible to develop a local ecosystem. I don't think there's such word should exist any longer.
Yeah, it sounds like an oxymoron, right?
Yeah, it's just like
local startup, local tech ecosystem doesn't exist.
I don't think it doesn't exist. I mean, with the latest things, and obviously when you develop such a vision as a country, as leadership, but also you bring others on board, it's much more than a local ecosystem. And the ingredients which you mentioned, let's say the brain gain, if you may call it, but also others that might join, and then mobilizing and utilizing. There's so much tacit knowledge within corporates, which corporates are not utilizing themselves. So how do we get corporates to be more innovative in order to create for themselves and the ecosystem? So these are the elements which definitely will be part of our discussions with the players.
So when talking about, these partnerships, it's the government, it's the accelerator itself, it's venture capital companies that, are also part of your network. And also you're mentioning corporations. What are exactly you're talking about? Is it, what kind of companies is it? And even, in Lithuania, okay, it's a small country, like it's obviously 3 million population, but we do also have very diverse economy. Well, like 23% of our GDP comes from manufacturing industry. We have automotive, we have engineering, and so on. Do you think, or do you see how these sectors could contribute to the tech activities and your activities here in Lithuania? Yeah. Do you have any idea on that? Any ideas?
I can also.
Sure. So on my side, I think that again, corporations are key inside of our ecosystem. It's very important for us. We currently work with over 550 corporations all over the world, and what we do is basically connecting them with tech startups that can move the needle for them in one shape or form, that they can do proof of concept pilot and then implement those solutions. So the idea is to really look for everywhere we go, we try to engage with corporations to make sure that corporations have this will of implementing technology solutions. Because at the end of the day, startups need to work with corporations. Otherwise, it's fundamental to invest, but they also need to work with corporations. Here, as you were saying, there are several industries that are interesting. What we've done also along these years was creating a ecosystem in countries around either one vertical or it's different verticals. So it can be for example, in Stuttgart, we were able to develop one of the biggest automotive mobility hubs, working with around 30 partners out in the automotive industry and tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers. But in Italy, we were able to do the same thing, not only with that space, but also with aerospace, for example.
Okay.
So the idea is to find also on the medium long term corporations that are willing to be part of this ecosystem, and this is how we engage with corporations. So we basically connect them with the tech startups that they need, and we kind of drive open innovation and digital transformation for them. I don't know if you wanted to add
absolutely.
anything.
I mean, it's imperative as a process, but the problem is that many corporates in these regions which have emerged in the last 30 years as an open economy, they're relatively new. So the concepts, the business, they're either family-owned businesses, they're small, although they've grown. They're not competitive when it comes, let's say, to Mercedes and our program in Stuttgart. So how do you compete in terms of mobility with Mercedes, who is one of our partners in Startup Autobahn, for example? But everything has.
Could you tell more about that initiative you're talking?
So Paulo mentioned a little bit. For example, in Stuttgart, we have a program with Mercedes, and their network of partners, and it's called Startup Autobahn. There's also a website which people can go and check. Basically,
a very German approach.
Very German. But also in Italy, it's Motor Valley.
Yeah, in Italy, Motor
same
Valley
where the big
Accelerator.
car manufacturers of Italy come together, they create a fund, and they basically open themselves up for open innovation services. So the big question that corporates also in the country here and elsewhere need to ask themselves, how do we work with third-party innovation? Are we open to that? Not just on the CSR concept, where we give some money, we give some competitions, we do some hackathons, but how open are we to really integrating the solutions into our day-to-day business and services? And this is the imperative for growth. And once we change the narrative, the story, because I know a lot of people say, yeah, we have our R&D department, great, but there is innovation happening outside. How open are you, not just from the mindset perspective, but how open are you to really embedding those solutions? And of course, from the startup perspective, we have another issue, because when you talk to a startup as a corporate, they will say, hey, I have an end-to-end solution for your corporate. And no corporate will go after end-to-end solution because they're already working. They might need a module or two of that. So leading this dialogue for us has been really the key thing, where we do these deal flow sessions, we sit with corporates, we talk to startups about what really needs to happen and what kind of solutions fit will be for a win-win situation. And I think this is the ingredient which makes plug and play special. And when I said end-to-end innovation platform, I meant that we go back, we talk to startups, we look at their innovation, we do their innovation readiness assessment, we see how well they are, not just from the will of, yeah, we're ready to be innovative or we're investing, but mainly on the third-party innovation and what we call open innovation services.
So you're plugging somewhere
Absolutely.
in the middle of
Absolutely.
corporate and
then on top of this,
startups.
we invest, we co-invest. Many corporates, for example, want to invest, but they don't know how to invest. Not just from the internal process, but also outside. So currently we're working with BNP Paribas on CVC, which is a corporate venture capital. I would say it's a relatively new term, but CVCs are high on demand by startups, because startups don't want the classical VCs per se. They want corporate funding because they become ultimately the client, the supporter for growth, and also the investor. So these sort of elements, I think, which are new for Lithuania, obviously, but also for the region. I would say relatively new. I know there is a CVC.
No, I think that's very important. I mean, that's very important. Sometimes we forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, we are talking about, you know, scaling up, looking for funding, like from the startup point of view, right?
Yeah.
But then, okay, so how are you going to scale? You know, within which organization or client base? And so on. And, you know, I was looking at you, Karolis, you know, and at the same time a little bit brainstorming about what kind of companies, like bigger companies.
I was doing the same,
yeah, because I thought you were doing it. You know, what kind of companies in Lithuania could, you know, be part of this approach? Not like startup companies, but you know, mid-sized companies. We don't really have like huge corporations, but still,
But for example,
family-run businesses that are pretty significant, like the one Teltonika, Professor Bumelis, Northway Biotech could be also one of them, perhaps, right? I don't know who else, but
also public, the energy company,
yes,
which is doing the investments. It's there are some activities around that, so maybe it's just
a short disclaimer. We are just, you know, brainstorming. It's not that there are some of the decisions. So despite we're talking about it in the minister's office, we shouldn't release any press releases yet. Out of this conversation at least.
No, of course.
There are some companies who are, you know, I would say punching above the weight of Lithuania in some areas. You know, you take logistics. We have some companies who are global European players. You take retail, which also has a very strong Lithuanian players in retail sector, both online and offline, you know, and they are all over Europe. You take, the same, you know, when it comes to automotive, mobility, energy. So there are relatively a big degree of companies who are much bigger than Lithuanian economy is, because they're working in a global sector. And I think this is a big opportunity to find the way how to also encourage those companies to be more active, not only, you know, setting up their own R&D, which might be very complicated for them to do, but also to encourage them to be more active in the startup ecosystem. Because in some cases, especially, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, there was a big distinguishment. This is the startup ecosystem, and this is the real business. You know, this is the where
Oh
the
yes, that's
where
the problem.
where the real business is made, where the real money is made, and they are a bunch of kids, you know, who are doing something, playing around and burning money, basically. And then out of these kids who were burning money, suddenly we have companies who became corporations themselves, you know. Take Vinted. It's not a startup anymore, you know. You take North Security. I think they're much more of a corporate rather than a startup, you know. And we have more and more companies who are becoming corporates themselves, and we have the original corporates who are now looking much more seriously towards the startup ecosystem, not only as some sort of, you know, someone who's playing something in a garage, but actually someone who's creating real value and who can be used and utilized in their own development. And I think this
Paulo,
is
you wanted to add something?
Yeah, 100%. No, I completely agree. And in that sense, this is something that we keep doing with the corporations. So educating them, because a lot of them, like, they want to start work with technology companies, but maybe they do not have the know-how nor the bandwidth to do like deal sourcing, due diligence, and all these parts. And we actually also look at the internal processes of the corporations, because maybe they do not have, like, in terms of like procedures, in terms of governance, of resources, of strategy, mission, vision. Like, we really help them since the beginning in kind of creating this end-to-end innovation strategy. And sometimes, you know, the startup can provide you a solution much faster, and you can. The very interesting thing is that with the proof of concept, what we like, you create something that does not exist. Like, you literally work with a startup that maybe has a specific technology, but since they are agile and dynamic, they can adapt the solution and create a proof of concept together, and you create something new. And this is something that you can do in a matter of weeks.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And that's I think the real value that we see in these kind of collaborations, and we are working on educating these corporations since the beginning. And as you were mentioning before, it's not just a couple of guys working in a garage, but really technology companies that can be next billion-dollar companies, you know, in the future.
Or $3 billion, as North Security is
absolutely
is now. Sure.
May I throw
Sure,
just
sure.
something as a thought, not to put pressure on the government, but basically another component, important, beside the big step which we have done, is the partnership with governments. Now, governments play a super important role on themselves opening up for services. And I will take some very good examples maybe Lithuania government will take into considerations in the future. So, for example, we're working closely with NATO. Defense is one of the areas. In Italy, in Finland, in other countries, I know we're part of Diana, which is the Defense International Accelerator programs, and Plug and Play is managing the Italy, and we're talking about other hubs as well, where we have been involved. So sectors like defense, cybersecurity, but also AI and other topics could be very important, in which I think your ecosystem could utilize Plug and Play expertise and network in order to optimize also the regulatory part, because we've provided also pretty solid recommendations for governments, agencies, in order to adopt legislation, but also develop new technologies. So I think this will ultimately play an important role on how fast the countries are growing, because in small communities there are corporates, but also the government sometimes remains the biggest spender who can make that big transformation. And by making the transformation, like Estonia did, they also sparked the startup ecosystem through opening up. So this is obviously for later. And one of the batches, maybe, it can be that we do jointly in one specific area where we invite startups of a specific niche to offer.
So I think our discussion is slowly but surely shifting to the very particular industries and features of our economy. But perhaps the first thing we have to keep in mind is that Plug and Play's Lithuanian program will be open to any kind of industry and startups coming from any industries. You have mentioned defense. So here in Lithuania, we do have some of the venture capital financial instruments, investing into startups. We're also part of Diana as well. I think that there are many exciting things going on, and we are investing more into innovation technologies here in Lithuania. From my experience, I was quite surprised, that the defense, even the tech part of it, defense business, for quite a long time was treated as gambling, for instance. There are so many restrictions they have to meet and different kind of measures to take. So that is a little bit crazy, especially given the current geopolitical situation, right? Because I mean, if we are investing a lot into our military capabilities, it's not only about purchasing tanks. To put it in a very plain language, but also investing into some very advanced technologies, including space. So perhaps let's talk about other areas, other sectors. Today we had a couple of meetings together with you, and you mentioned biotechnology, life science industry. Well, we can with Karolis. I mean, we can talk a lot about it, but also fintech, right? What else? What else do you see as a feature, like key features of our Lithuanian industries?
So what we also see a lot as something relevant that can be relevant. Let's also keep in mind something that the idea here is also we want to keep it. We want to make sure that we can attract as many also startups, not only from Lithuania, but also from outside. So some sectors that we see as that work really well in at Plug and Play are, for example, smart cities. Smart cities program put together not only sustainability, but energy, mobility, real estate and construction. So there are several industries, as well as enterprise tech, which is kind of more than a vertical, can be considered as like something horizontal that can be applied to a lot of different corporations. So we kind of see like this could be something relevant, as you were mentioning, fintech. It's also one of the practices, I would say, where we are strongest at Plug and Play, working with financial institutions from all over the world. And, also this can be also an opportunity for startups to connect with these kind of corporations. When you were mentioning before about the local and the global, the idea here is that maybe a corporation that is working in Italy or in Spain can get a solutions from Lithuania.
Yeah, like for instance, Leonardo from Italy, right?
Yeah, Leonardo, for example, is working with is our partner, main partner in Torino, and I mean, but the idea here is really connect corporations with the like startups where there is like a match, and that can be in Tokyo. A startup that can provide the solution, the exact solution that a corporation might need. So, I would say there are different topics, different industries. We really want to keep it for the moment, as we said, let's say more all the different industries, as we also work with 20 plus different industries, and take it from there, basically.
Paulo, you mentioned energy, and I think that there will be some exciting stories from Lithuania very soon. Could be that the fourth unicorn from our country will be the one that is from the energy sector, renewables, software creators. But actually, the government of Lithuania is taking very ambitious steps towards energy independence when it comes to green energy. By the year 2040, we'll not only produce green energy to like ourselves to meet our own demand, but also we want to store it and to have a possibility to export it. But at the same time, we want to also consume more, so that more business, more manufacturers, and more startup and tech companies are coming in, because of the possibilities that this energy independence brings. So I think that this is one of the hottest topics, not only across the globe, well, because of the global warming, obviously, but also because of the innovation and proactive role of the governments and our government in particular as well.
But this is super important because you're touching on elements which we're talking about new entrepreneurs, and these new entrepreneurs have big values. The value of inclusion, the value of society, what they represent is much more than a normal business or traditional business. They're not in only for profit. These people want to make change, they want to make impact. So when we talk about these elements of green, when we talk about the vision of a country on being inclusive, open, and offering really good opportunities for people, they will come here. And you will be very attractive for them as a country in terms of them executing their right and feeling good about what they're doing. Because again, these younger generations are very, very different from what we're used to seeing maybe in the previous years. And they're educating also the traditional businesses from the perspective of how they see the business and the business growth and the overall impact they want to do around society, and not just locally, but also globally. And these are important ingredients, and I want to congratulate you on that, because these small things will matter much more than maybe if there's a plug and play in Lithuania or not. But the people who want to come and start a business here will look at these small elements of that will create the big picture. And then of course, puzzle pieces will be important, the access to finance, and obviously, but there are other elements that many people miss out. And we are seeing many countries that are putting heavy money, and they're trying to do everything to clean up their name through sports and startups. But it's tough. It's very tough because they don't have the other elements which would make the ecosystem attractive for them. So with that said, I think these are super important elements.
Well, I think that the values element is very important, because we live in this, post-materialistic world where business is also investing a lot into change that sometimes may seem that, okay, perhaps from the economic point of view, it's not really worth doing, but from the sort of value point of view is obviously definitely worth doing. And I think, when it comes to energy, like clean tech, sustainability, I mean, Vinted is a part of sustainability and circular economy, right? So one of the most prominent names. So that is very important, and it is important for us as decision makers, because sometimes you have to think not only about economic growth, but also about at what cost this growth, comes. So that's the thing. Well, we are discussing a lot, and we covered a lot. I feel like I am in psychotherapy actually, because we are like-minded people discussing it. I'm not sure about how people who are watching feel about the conversation, but anyway, I think that everyone is very much interested. So in the very concrete steps now we are taking together with Plug and Play here in Lithuania. So what is the timeline? When the program will be launched? And of course, everybody is interested. So when the new unicorns come from the program. So perhaps not every question we could answer, especially the last one, but perhaps let's talk a little bit about the timeline, about the dates, and the concrete things and steps now you are taking here.
And what should the startups who are watching and thinking about that they would like to be part of your ecosystem, what they should do, what they should wait for?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. So, I mean, we touched upon these from different perspectives. The good thing is that we're here. As I mentioned, we registered the office. We got 3 openings already, with the number hoping to increase. The pre-registration or expression of interest will start in a couple of weeks. With that being said, I think startups can always reach out to us. Apart from being part of the accelerator, they can reach out because we can still help them, even the existing ones, and connect them with investors. We obviously do that. And we anticipate that although the call for application should be launched before this New Year's, but the official program might start in early next year, which will mean the first batch. The program will be 12 weeks. We will have 6 cohorts, and basically this is the official. The first one will be super important for us, setting the stage for what is to come next. And we absolutely hope that throughout these 60 startups that will be accelerated, not one, but hopefully more unicorns. But not only that, the more impact on the ground, new jobs created, more investments to Lithuania.
Good salaries.
Good salaries, absolutely. And obviously, we mentioned utilizing the local capital, fueling it into the startup ecosystem. There's always some money sitting on the around which people don't know what to do with it. So I think that will be part of the role. And then we talked about corporate engagement, and we talked also about the potential government engagement in launching new programs per se. The short things are the office, the people, the program being launched, and unless I forgot something very important.
But the official program, now we have this preparatory work,
yes.
also legal stuff to do,
Yes.
but then the very program starts first half next year.
Yes.
But you are, drawing our attention that you are going to launch an open call for startups, just to engage, to know, so who is interested at all, right?
Exactly. So we're gonna now, basically, couple of weeks, we're gonna launch our pre-call for interest. So
Pre-call.
to basically collect interest, to see startups that are interested in this kind of program that we're gonna have in 2024, and we're gonna launch beginning of 2024 the call for application, and yeah. But for the moment, I also invite if startups are interested in the program, we're gonna launch soon these pre-call for interest. So feel free to apply for it. It's gonna be pretty simple. We're gonna keep it pretty simple for the moment to have the interest from the startups. And again, feel free to reach out either to Uraniku or me, or also our great team that have been working on this, like Leonardo Rocchetti, Raimondo Pili, and everyone who have been part of this project. So feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you very much for this very enlightening conversation. This was the first podcast. We'll try to continue with it. I'll switch to Lithuanian now. Tai ačiū visiems labai. Tikiuosi, kad šitas pirmas blynas mums neprisvila ir mes tęsime, jeigu neprisvila šitą tinklalaidę toliau. Ir tikslas yra labai paprastas – supažindinti žmonės su tuo, ką mes čia darome. Galbūt pasileisite kažkur gamindami maistą, ar bėgiodami, ar nežinau, prieš miegą, ar vairuodami, ir galbūt kažką sužinosite, ką daugiau mes darome Ekonomikos ir inovacijų ministerijoje, nes kartais, kai mes gyvenam tokioj šūkių visuomeniai, kur reikia pasakyti 3 žodžius ir daugiau tu nebeturi laiko, yra labai sunku papasakoti apie tuos procesus. Tai šitos laidos tikslas buvo truputėlį supažinti su būtent plug and play, ką čia tas tarptautinis akceleratorius Lietuvoje darys. Ir tikiuosi, kad šitą laidą pasižiūrės mūsų startuolių bendruomenės nariai, pasižiūrės studentai, kurie galbūt galvoja apie savo startuolį, mokslininkai, kurie laboratorijose dirba ir galvoja, gal man reikia irgi savo mokslinės žinias investuoti į verslą ir sukurti, pavyzdžiui, spin-offą kažkokį ir taip toliau. Tikiuosi, kad jums tai buvo naudinga ir atkreipkite dėmesį tai, ką tik pasakė mūsų pašnekovai, kad programa jau pasileis kitų metų pradžioje, bet jau po porą savaičių, ko gero, labai greitai, kaip mes filmuojam, yra spalio pabaiga, Plug and Play paleis tokį atvirą kvietimą startuoliams dalyvauti ir parodyti tą susidomėjimą programą. Tai yra, jiems reikia pasižiūrėti, tai kiek čia yra to susidomėjimo ir kokio lygio, kokiose industrijose ir panašiai. Tai sekite naujienas, naudokite šitomis galimybėmis, kurios čia yra sukurtos. Mes labai stengiamės iš tikrųjų, kad jų būtų daugiau. Ir susitiksime kitur. Geros dienos.